First, I want to appreciate some of my big brothers and sisters and teachers and mentors in the house. Brandori, I can't contribution to my development. Jimmy, with friends and colleagues also. They do not know, and one of them too is not here. I'm sure he's supposed to be here, but he's not transit. So I will start by saying, you want to be planted on purpose, begin by knowing your purpose. I also want to highlight that I'm looking at the team planted on purpose. I try to first ask myself some questions. Planted. Our first speaker already explained purpose, so I don't want to go back to that again. If we talk about planting, I took my mind back to agriculture, when you cultivate and put seed in the soil, and to get that after a while it germinates, blossoms, if it's well nourished. And what that means to me is that all of us here, we are like that seed. The seed that can only blossom is a living seed. So what you carry is something living, has potential, capacity to actually, blossom, germinate, grow, and become something big. All right, having said that, I also want to highlight the fact that there is no sudden success. Every success you see is a product of commitment, consistency, and there's this story I always like to remind myself of. The story of the turkey and the bull. Don't know some of our another story. The turkey saw the eagle flying, and he felt, I want to fly, let people see me and celebrate me, just like when they celebrate the eagle. And the turkey went to the bull. I asked the bull, how can you help me? I want to be like the eagle. Can you help me to also fly like the eagle? And the bull said, no problem. The only thing you need to do is to stand on my dung, and then I will use my tail to push you, and then you find yourself on the tree. And that's what we call bush it. Meeting success by bush it. Wow. Okay, so the turkey did what the bull told him rather. So that the bull shit, and the bull was able to catapult the turkey to the tree. And we know what happened? The hunter sighted the turkey and then shot the turkey. What's the moral about this story? If you get to the top by bullshit, you're not likely to last. Okay, so that's why I say every success you see is a product of consistency and commitment over time. Now to my story. I was born in a very committed Christian family. I was this morning I was thinking, how can I get this discussion from looking like a religious discussion, but I can't just say, let me just have a background and then I'll find a way. So but my background was really a great influence in my development. And this is because the circumstances surrounding my birth. I am the 6th child in the family of 9. The first son out of 2. Being born in an environment where, Abalibu, this culture of a male child, we need a male child. Even though my father wasn't, particular about that from what my mom told me, but people around, kinsmen, friends, were kind of making comment after 5 children, all girls, and then your mates are having boys. So my mother that made her to, start seeking God's face, praying about it, fasting and all those gymnastics. Eventually, God answered her prayer, and she felt the only way to appreciate God is to give back this boy to God. So I was going to be like the second Samuel. You know, and they did what they could do. I actually attended junior seminary, and the purpose was when you finish, you end up in the pulpit. Yes, they wanted to fulfill their promise to God. But over time, while all this were happening, I was worried. I wasn't sure this is what I wanted to be. I wasn't sure I wanted to be in the pulpit, but I believe I could serve God. Are you following me? Yes. I strongly believe I could serve God, but I'm not convinced that my service to God would be on the pulpit. I went through the junior seminary, and the plan was as I finishing, get to senior seminary, be ordained as a minister, and then maybe that's where you're serving God. Fast track to when I got admission in university. That was when the whole thing started becoming clearer to me. When I finished, I was like, I'm not going to senior seminary. Let me go to the regular university, get a degree. When I come back, if I still need to go and serve in the altar, we'll find a way around it. And the interesting around that time, I found out that in my church, a Methodist, that there is what they call 10 ministers. 10 ministers, you could be working at the same time you a reverend minister without having to, drop your career. So that was like a sucker to me. But then, in the university, 2008, I was in NIFES. All the NIFES mission conference that was held there in Abuja, that was where God opened my eyes to that mission and ministry is not only in the pulpit. You can be a marketplace minister or missionary. And that was the only thing I needed to hear that helped me to overcome that concern of how do I, find myself and be able to still serve God and serve humanity, which is really my drive. Okay? Now that had been settled. The next phase, turning point in my life again, happened. So going to service, just like that. Okay. It's a long story. I'm not going to cut it short. Going to service, I didn't have an idea of what I was going to be in service. NYSC. I didn't have any sort of an idea. But what I'm bringing out this story is sometimes God plants people in your life to help you discover what His purpose for you is. And if you are not sensitive to these opportunities, you tend to miss them. You stay longer in your place of discovery because you miss key opportunities that will help you to, start things faster. So I didn't know what I was going to do in service. People already advised me when you get to camp, join cultural troops, join the band. I don't know how to dance. So what am I going to do cultural troops? But a day to resumption, I met a senior colleague in church, Adekiti. He asked me, why were you posted? I said, Ondo State. He said, we'll meet in camp. I didn't understand why he said that. Now, the week we met in camp, some of us might know him, if I mention the name, but he came to introduce HIV and AIDS program, the PET program to us in camp. When he finished, he called me and said, come and join this group. I was like, okay, what is HIV? This thing doesn't exist. That was my knowledge at that time. It doesn't exist. He said, come and join. Just attend one class. If you are not convinced, you can go. I was that person that wrote my name in that list that day. I attended the class. The next thing that happened to me that struck my mind was a member of that class told us that his own brother died of AIDS. So it dawned on me that this is actually a problem. And I'm being called into this assignment to help to contribute to reducing the incidence of HIV in our community. That was my first beginning. And I took it as a mission for me to help reduce the incidence of HIV among adolescents in our community. I was posted to the local government in Ondo State where I did my GPA, and somehow I was supposed to serve in secondary school, but by divine orchestration, I didn't go to that school. I found myself in a CBO where I served eventually, and did my work. After my service day, I went home. I was in the farm with my mom one afternoon. After like some months, I got a call. Victor, where are you? I said, I'm in Aba, in the farm with my mom. Then I was actually working in the school. The daddy was just in the farm, assistant at the farm. Where I stand, they called me. We need you in the kitchen for the time she used for just like rescue mission. That was the time of Reach projects in Ekiti, and they were having an issue. They will need you to come and help us in Ekiti and save this project. That was where my journey as MIE started. That aside, after some time, this is like I'll find a purpose that God has helped me to define, and I'm already making impact in it. After a while, project, a lot of other things came up, and we worked really fine with it. But 2015-16, voting ended, just like the trumpet that happened in January, February. That was a long year of silence. I was confused at that point. What's the next way for me? Now, one key lesson I want to bring out from here, this second part is, when your trajectory suddenly nosedives, remind you to get back to, reinvent yourself, rediscover yourself. It's not a time to give up. It's not a time to get buried. Yeah. It's a time to really sit back and have a personal retreat. Mm-hmm. And that was what helped me at that moment. For a whole year, I was trying to define out what can I do beyond now. And I was afraid. Remember, for that whole year, I didn't get any salary. And I was afraid of quitting that job. Because if I leave this job, I don't know where I was going to. But the job is not paying me. Now, something happened. I don't know how many folks that know about YALI. YALI, Young African Leaders Initiative. I was among the first cohorts that was hosted in Nigeria. So during that YALI program, that was the period I told myself, I'm going to spend 35 days to have a personal review of my life. What do I need from here? And while others were busy having the fun of the funded program, I was busy asking myself a series of questions. What do we need to do going forward? After YALI, the first thing I did was to resign. I got the confidence to tell myself, if you have survived these 9 months, 3 months will not kill you, going forward you will not die. And a couple of things helped me to make that decision. And I will recommend that book to you, Who Moved My Cheese? How many of us have read that book? Good. If you have read that book and nothing happened to your life, I don't know what you read. Who Moved My Cheese? You can check on YouTube, they have a video clip on that. The story of those 3 small people, yes, was a turning point in my life generally.